Okay, so let's get on page 411, and we are going to be down at the bottom of the page. It is about, it's where Malcolm starts talking, line 58. And just as a little bit of a review, we will be on question 34. We said, does Malcolm, or no, 32, no, 31, sorry. Does Malcolm appear to want the throne? And we said on 31 that he doesn't appear to want the throne. And he said, I would make a worse king than Macbeth is making right now. And so Macduff says in lines 56, if you're looking, he's like, there's nobody who could be a more evil king than Macbeth. So what Malcolm is fixing to do, and you're going to have to listen for it, Malcolm is going to list the vices, like the bad things that he does that would make him such a horrible king. And so I'll stop you after each one, and we'll add several things to number 32. So that's where we're starting, line 58. Let's get going here.
Grant him bloody, luxurious, avaricious, false, deceitful, sudden, malicious, smacking of every sin that has a name. But there's no bottom, none in my voluptuousness.
Look to your right. What's voluptuousness mean? Okay, so Malcolm says, I am filled with lust.
Your wives, your daughters, your matrons, and your maids could not fill up the cistern of my lust. And my desire all continent impediments would o'erbear that did oppose my will. Better Macbeth than such an one to reign. Bound.
Okay, so go ahead and answer then your number 32. The first vice that Malcolm says would make him a bad king is he's filled with lust. He said, I could not get enough women. Remember, he's trying to convince Macduff that he would not make a good king. So that's the first one. I want women all the time. Young, old, married, maidens, I don't care. I just want to have women. So here's Macduff's reply, top of page 412.
Endless intemperance in nature is a tyranny. It hath been the untimely emptying of the happy throne and fall of many kings. But fear not yet to take upon you what is yours. You may convey your pleasures in a spacious plenty and yet seem cold. The time you may so hoodwink. We have willing dames enough. There cannot be that vulture in you to devour so many as will to greatness dedicate themselves, finding it so inclined with it.
Look at 73. Macduff says, okay, yeah, that's not good, but we have a bunch of women in Scotland. We can fill your desires, no problem. All right, so Malcolm's going to have to go to vice number 2, bad thing number 2 that would make him a bad king.
This there grows in my most ill-composed affection such a staunchless avarice that, were I king, I should cut off the nobles for their lands, desire his jewels and this other's house, and my more having would be as a sauce to make me hunger more, that I should forge quarrels unjust against the good and loyal, destroying them for wealth. This...
All right, look at your side note, 76 to 78. Malcolm adds insatiable. That means unquenchable what? Greed. So add that one to number 32. He wants all the wealth in Scotland. So number 1, he says, I can't get enough women. Number 2, I can't get enough money. Wealth. I just want. So Macduff is going to reply to this vice.
Avarice sticks deeper, grows with more pernicious root than summer seeming lust, and it hath been the sword of our slain kings. Yet do not fear. Scotland hath hoisons to fill up your will of your mere own. All these are portable with other graces we, but...
Scotland has enough treasures. We can deal with this one too. Come back and be king of Scotland, Malcolm. All right, 91.
I have none. The king becoming graces, as justice, verity, temperance, stableness, bounty, perseverance, mercy, lowliness, devotion, patience, courage, fortitude, I have no relish of them, but abound in the division of each several crime, acting in many ways. Nay, had I power, I should pour the sweet milk of concord into hell, uproar the universal peace, confound all unity on earth. Oh, Scotland, Scotland.
33, or 32, what is the last vice? He says, I have no what? Look at your side note, 91 to 95. Malcolm claims he lacks all the virtues appropriate to be a king. He lists truthfulness, consistency, generosity, humility. So add your last vice, he lacks kingly characteristics. This is still 32. He lacks any kingly characteristic. He just says, I am not made to be a king. So those are his three vices that you see on my screen that you've written down on number 32. And Macduff, you can hear him say in 101, oh, Scotland. In other words, Scotland's going to fail then. All right, let's finish it out.
Such a one be fit to govern, speak. I am as I have spoken.
Fit to govern? No, not to live! Oh, nation miserable! With an untitled tyrant bloody sceptre! When shalt thou see thy wholesome days again? Since that the truest issue of thy throne by his own interdiction stands accursed, and does blaspheme his breed. Thy royal father was a most sainted king. The queen that bore thee, oftener upon her knees than on her feet, died every day she lived.
So Macduff says, your parents would be ashamed of you. They were such good people, and here you say you can't be a good king. Macduff, you can hear he's disgusted with Malcolm. He kind of sounds like he gets him up on the wall, by his collar even, kind of roughs him up a little bit.
Fare thee well. These evils thou repeat'st upon thyself have banished me from Scotland. Oh, my breast, thy hope ends here.
Macduff! This noble passion, child of integrity, hath from my soul wiped the black scruples, reconciled my thoughts to thy good truth and honour.
Okay, did y'all catch what he just said? He said, never mind. Look at line 114, side note. Macduff has finally convinced Malcolm of his honesty. So Malcolm is fixing to take back, he's fixing to retract his statement and say, I really don't have those three vices. I was just trying to see if you wanted me to be king, even if I was a bad king and you didn't care that I was a bad king, then I would know you were tricking me. So let's listen to it and then we'll answer.
Devilish Macbeth, by many of these trains hath sought to win me into his power, and modest wisdom plucks me from over credulous haste. But God above deal between thee and me. For even now I put myself to thy direction and unspeak mine own detraction. Here abjure the taints and blames I laid upon myself for strangers to my nature.
Okay, he's fixing to go one by one with these that I still have on the board, the screen. He's fixing to talk about the lust, the greed, the kingly characteristics. So see if you can catch them.
I am yet unknown to woman.
What does that mean? He's a virgin. Okay, so he says that number one is complete nonsense. Listen what he says about greed.
Never was forsworn. Scarcely have coveted what was mine own. At no time broke my faith, would not betray the devil to his fellow, and delight no less in truth than life. My first false speaking was this upon myself.
He said, I'm not a liar, I'm not a greed, I'm not a womanizer, I'm none of those things.
What I am truly is thine and my poor country's to command. Whether indeed, before thy here approach, old Siward, with 10,000 warlike men already at a point, was setting forth. Now we'll together, and the chance of goodness be like our warranted quarrel. Why are you silent?
Such welcome and unwelcome things at once 'tis hard to reconcile.
Okay, so let's answer 33. Does Malcolm really have these bad vices, yes or no? No. He really does not have all of these bad vices. 34. So why did he say he had them? What was he doing? Trying to do what?
See if you want.
Okay. He was trying to see if Macduff really, hold on, if Macduff really had Scotland's best interest at heart, if Macduff didn't care that Malcolm had all these vices, all these bad habits, then he wouldn't care. If Macduff was just trying to get him across the border so that they could jump him, then he would take Malcolm anyway. But when Macduff said, "Now, you're not fit to govern Scotland, we don't want you if you have these three bad things," then Malcolm realizes Macduff is on the up and up, Macduff is being truthful, Macduff wants what's best for Scotland. And when he finds that out, then that's what is, he knows that they can be allies now. All right, let's look at 35. It says how this scene fits into the theme of deceptive appearances. The irony in what Malcolm does, Malcolm is dishonest there for a little bit, but he uses his dishonesty for the good of Scotland. Macbeth uses his dishonesty for evil. So you can see that Shakespeare uses this dishonesty, this whole dishonesty theme. And Malcolm is being dishonest here for a little bit, but it's only for Scotland's good. It's just to see how Macduff is going to be. Let's finish out this this section. We are at the bottom, 141.
My lord?
Well, Moranon, comes the king forth, I pray?
Aye, sir. There are a crew of wretched souls that stay his cure. Their malady convinces the great assay of art, but at his touch, such sanctity hath heaven given his hand, they presently amend.
I thank you, doctor. What's the disease he means?
Top of
'Tis called the
414.
evil. A most miraculous work in this good king, which often since my here remain in England I have seen him do. How he solicits heaven himself best knows, but strangely visited people, all swollen and ulcerous, pitiful to the eye, the mere despair of surgery he cures, hanging a golden stamp about their necks, put on with holy prayers. And 'tis spoken, to the succeeding royalty, he leaves the healing benediction. With this strange virtue he hath a heavenly gift of prophecy, and sundry blessings hang about his throne that speak him full of grace.
Okay, so all of that, which we're not going to spend much time on, all it is talking about the King of England, whose name was Edward the Confessor. But Edward now and Malcolm now and Macduff are all teamed up to come up into Scotland to fight Macbeth. So that's a done deal. The alliance is a done deal. All right. We know what's happened to Macduff's family, right? They're dead. Macduff doesn't know this. Here comes in Ross. Remember Ross was talking to Lady Macduff. Lady Macduff was mad her husband had left. Here's Ross to break the bad news to Macduff. So kind of listen for that.
See who comes here.
My countryman, but yet I know him not.
My ever-gentle cousin. Welcome hither.
I know him now. Good God, betimes remove the means that make us strangers.
Sir, amen.
Stands Scotland where it dead?
Alas, poor country, almost afraid to know itself. It cannot be called our mother but our grave, where nothing but who knows nothing is once seen to smile, where sighs and groans and shrieks that rent the air are made, not marked, where violent sorrow seems a modern ecstasy. The dead man's knell is there, scarce asked for who, and good men's lives expire before the flowers in their caps, dying ere they sicken.
Oh, relation, too nice and yet too true.
What's the newest grief?
That of an hour's age doth hiss the speaker, each minute deems a new one.
How does my wife?
Why, well,
And all my children?
well too.
The tyrant has not battled at their peace.
No, they were well at peace when I did leave them.
So go to 36. It says, remember Ross was among the group that was with Duncan and Malcolm at Macbeth's castle. Malcolm knows Macduff. Malcolm knows Ross. Ross knows Macduff. But notice in line 160, Malcolm says, I don't recognize Ross. Why would Malcolm not recognize Ross? What kind of news does Ross have? Horrible news, yeah. So Ross's face is likely filled with grief. Remember, Ross's cousin is Lady Macduff. He's just had part of his entire family wiped out. And now he's got to tell Macduff this news. He's got to tell Macduff that his wife and kids and everybody has been killed. So Ross's face is going to have been filled with grief. Number 37, describe the condition of Scotland, good or bad? It's bad. Let's put violent, chaotic, unrest. We know that orphans and widows are all over the place. There's always bells going off because there's a new funeral. So under Macbeth's rule, things are horrible, and Ross has come to report that. So everybody look at the bottom of 414. I want everybody looking in your book. Macduff says, how's my wife? And what does Ross say? Why, well. And then Macduff says what? And what does Ross say? Well, too. And then the top of the page, the tyrant, meaning Macbeth has not, messed with them. And Ross said, no, they were well at peace when I did leave them. So 38 says, how is that ambiguous? Ambiguous means just real vague. Notice how Shakespeare has just put ambiguous as unclear. And notice how you can take his words two ways here. How's my wife? Well, he didn't mean well as in good. He meant, well, got something to tell you. He didn't say that I got something to tell you, but he said, well, and then my kids, how are my kids? Well, and then what does he say when he says, were they at peace? Or are they peaceful? And he's like, yeah, they were at peace. Yeah, eternal peace, right? So you see that he can take his words two ways there. All right. So Ross has to tell him. Macduff even says, I know you've got something to tell me. Tell me. Line 181.
Be not unniggard of your speech, how goes?
When I came hither to transport the tidings which I have heavily borne, there ran a rumour of many worthy fellows that were out, which was to my belief witness the rather, for that I saw the tyrant's power afoot. Now is the time of help. Your eye in Scotland would create soldiers, make our women fight to doff their dire distresses.
Bait their comfort, we are coming thither. Gracious England hath lent us good seaward, and 10,000 men, an older and a better soldier none that Christendom gives out.
Okay, I talked about the alliance between Malcolm and Macduff, and now the King of England has given 10,000 soldiers to go up to take care of Macbeth. So that's a good thing. Keep that number in mind. All right, but we're about the middle of the page. Ross is fixing to tell the bad news. Have you ever had bad news to tell and you just keep putting it off? And keep putting it off. That's what Ross is doing. Because, right, when you know it, it's horrible enough, but when you have to tell someone else, it's even worse.
Would I could answer this comfort with a like, but I have words that would be howled out in the desert air, where hearing should not latch them.
What console me? The general cause, or is it a fee grief due to some single breast?
No mind that's honest, but in it shares some woe, though the main part pertains to you alone.
If it be mine, keep it not from me, quickly, let me have it.
Let not your ears despise my tongue forever, which shall possess them with the heaviest sound that ever yet they heard.
In other words, Ross says, don't kill the messenger. I'm just the one telling you the news. I didn't do anything, but I'm having to tell you.
I guess at it.
Your castle is surprised, your wife and babes savagely slaughtered, to relate the manner where, on the quarry of these murdered deer, to add the death of you.
Merciful heaven! What man! Ne'er pull your hat upon your brows. Give sorrow words. The grief that does not speak whispers the o'erfraught heart and bids it break.
My children too,
Wife, children, servants, all that could befall.
and I must be from thence. My wife killed too.
I have said.
Be comforted. Let's make us medicines of our great revenge to cure this deadly grief.
He has no children. All my pretty ones. Did you say all? Oh, hell, kite! All? What? All my pretty chickens and their dam in one fell swoop.
Dispute it like a man.
I shall do so. But I must also feel it as a man. I cannot but remember such things well that were most precious to me. Did heaven look on and would not take their part? Sinful Macduff! They were all struck for thee. Not that I am. Not for their own demerits, but for mine fell slaughter on their souls. Heaven rest them now.
Be this the whetstone of your sword. Let grief convert to anger. Blunt not the heart, enrage it.
Oh, I could play the woman with mine eyes and braggart with my tongue. But, gentle heavens, cut short all intermission. Front to front, bring thou this fiend of Scotland and myself. Within my sword's length set him. If he escape, heaven forgive him too.
This tune goes manly. Come go we to the king. Our power is ready. Our lack is nothing but our leave. Macbeth is ripe for shaking, and the powers above put on their instruments. Receive what cheer you may. The night is long that never finds the day.
Okay, let's talk about, he gets the news. How does he feel about having left his kids and wife unprotected now? Completely guilty, right? So bad, so guilty. Look at your top side note, 214. Macduff laments. He mourns his absence from the castle. Okay, so I want you to look in line 216. Everybody look there. Malcolm says, oh, okay, it's okay. Let's get our revenge. And what does Macduff reply, 219? Malcolm, you don't have kids. You haven't ever even been with a woman. You haven't been in love. You don't know what it's like. So really, Malcolm, you can't really give me some advice about this. One of my favorite lines in this play is line 224. When Malcolm says, dispute it like a man, Macduff said, I will, but I must also feel it like a man. I've got to grieve, and I'm going to grieve. But then, notice what he wants to do in line 235. Front to front, bring thou this fiend of Scotland, that would be Macduff, and myself within my sword's length set him. Who does he want right in front of him in sword's length from him? Macbeth. He said, I'm going to kill him. And that's what I want. And I'm going to avenge my wife and my kids. I'm going to feel the grief, but I'm going to avenge their death. And so here at the end of Act 4, what it's done for Act 5 is set up the showdown. It's set up the showdown between Macduff, Macbeth, the fight. You know that Macbeth has some predictions that he thinks he can't be killed, but Macduff has a huge interest in killing Macbeth because he wants to avenge his own family, plus Scotland. Let's finish out with 39. What's Macduff's state of mind? What are some of the emotions? Grief, guilt, but what's he going to do? He's going to turn that into anger and kill Macbeth. His grief is turned into anger. He will turn it into anger, and he will kill Macbeth. So you've made it through 4 acts so far. One more. Let's look at our paraphrases. You've got 6 of them? Okay. Why don't you put the page numbers on them? I've given you the line, right? Or I've given you the quote. Yeah. Okay, I've given you the quote So again, I'm giving, and if you'll just look at the page and I think you probably have time to do this. Remember on your paraphrases, you're going to tell me who said it. So on this number 1, let's just do together right quick. You're going to type out the witches spoke this. What is this? Double, double, toil and trouble? Is that it? Okay. The witches spoke this. What did I tell you toil means? Toil. To toil is to work. So what they're wanting is they're putting a spell. Once you say the witches said this spell on whom? On Macbeth. And they are wanting to cause him work and trouble, right? They're wanting to cause him work and trouble. Remember that 10 and 11, you are needing to memorize that for tomorrow's quiz. We will take a quiz over Act 4 tomorrow. So remember that you need to memorize double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron, bubble. Be able to write that out. All right, and then you can do 2 through 6. Again, you'll turn your paraphrases in. Let's not turn them in till tomorrow. I'll have a place for you to turn them in tomorrow, and then you'll take your Act 4 quiz tomorrow. Any questions?